Good afternoon,
Back at it again.
my fine feathered friends. Good to see all of you this, I don't know, whatever time it is, this afternoon.
How are you going to make that ultra master sensei to show up the time?
I don't wear a watch. I know what time it is. The time is now. It's right here, right now.
Come back.
What time is it? It's now. Where are you at? I'm here.
1:30.
1:30, thank you. Thank you. 1:30 in the PM. I want to talk to you about Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs today. Are we familiar with what the Hierarchy of Needs are? Maslow Hierarchy Needs is where it's a series of psychological needs such as the need to sustain life. The very basic need is survival, right? There was once a pharaoh who commissioned all the wise men in Egypt to discover the meaning of life. But what he wanted was it put into one paragraph. So all the wise men gathered, they put it into a big book. And the pharaoh's like, no, I want it in a paragraph. So they put it all together, they put it into one single paragraph. He read the paragraph and was not satisfied. He said, I want it in one sentence. So the wise men got together again. They came back with one sentence. Still not satisfied, the pharaoh said, not good enough. I want it summed up into one single word. So scratching their heads and trying to figure out what to do, they all got together. All the wise men in Egypt got together again. And it took them a long time, and they finally came up with one single word to be the meaning of all life. And can you guess what that one single word turned out to be? Survival. Survival was the word that they came up with. The pharaoh was satisfied with this and agreed. And yes, in a way, that is true. Survival is. It's the most essential form of living. If you're not surviving, let's take for example, if a saber-toothed tiger is chasing you, the idea of trying to become self-actualized and highly enlightened becomes irrelevant. The only thing you're thinking about is running for your life and surviving. If you are thirsting to death, for example, you don't have any water for the past 3 days, you're dying of thirst, the last thing you're worried about is whether or not you're going to make it on America's Got Talent or not. Last thing you're concerned about is if the judges from The Voice will pass you on to the next round. The last thing you're worried about is if you get that promotion at work or whatever. If your basic need of water is not met, you're not meeting the fundamental of life, which is survival. So in the Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs, the first little section there is your survival, your physical survival. What else could that mean? If you don't have a roof over your head, it's kind of silly to think about, buying yourself a new pair of Nikes when you don't have a roof over your head, right? When you're living out inside, the first thing you have to do is find something to shelter your body. Yes? Then you have to find something to drink. Then you have to find something to eat. If you're starving to death, there's a problem, big problem. So this is the part of the Hierarchy of Needs that is essential. It's that base of the triangle here. You notice the triangle in this diagram that I painstakingly made for you. You notice that right here, it says the fundamentals, physical health and safety needs. So that right there is also another thing. And you may find yourself struggling with the rest of the triangle because you don't feel safe yet. could be a thing of safety. You're scared of some way or another. Something happened in the past that you're scared of. Something's keeping you up at night. Something's keeping you up at night because you're still scared. You're still trying to meet that basic need, which is survival. The very first thing we have to cover, make sure we have food, shelter, and water. After that, we have to make sure that we feel safe. Our security is there. We don't want a saber-toothed tiger to knock down our cave door and eat us. We have to feel safe. If we don't feel safe, we're not meeting the very basic need of survival. And therefore, we're not meeting what we call pro, physical relationship opportunity. And if you're not meeting pro, you're not meeting that basic fundamentals of the hierarchy of needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Everybody sort of understand why it's very important then to begin to recognize the fact that for the most part, we are safe. I mean, unless you're living in a war zone, unless you're living in a combat zone, a gang zone, or with dangerous people, you're pretty safe. Particularly you guys are very safe. So, that being said, we have to begin to recognize that. Yeah? We have to recognize the past isn't real any longer. If something is bothering you. We have to recognize that the saber-toothed tiger doesn't exist anymore. There's no more saber-toothed tiger. Now it's just the memory of a saber-toothed tiger. Those things can't physically harm us if we don't allow them to. So we focus on pro first, becoming a pro. Getting our physical needs met. That means our nutrition needs, our standing keeping ourselves clean, our house, our basic survival needs, right? As in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we must have the physical down. But it also, we need to have our communications down. This is part of our fundamentals. Part of the Maslow hierarchy of needs is to have relationships. Now, we can't have relationships unless we're first feeling safe. We can't build relationships if we're not first having our water, our food, our nutrition. It's impossible to do that because, well, the first thing we need is survival. After that, we can start building our relationships. We build our relationships with each other through communications. We build our relationships through each other through understanding. Remember the love principle. Very important for us to always remember the love principle. Listen to someone. Truly try to understand them. Validate them as a human being. And then, of course, be empathetic to their plight or their problems. Have an open line of communication. You create an affinity for each other when you're truly interested in somebody else. So this is very important. Once we build our relationships, then of course we need our opportunity. And what would be our opportunity? We need to be able to work. We need to be able to develop ourselves as human beings. Part of that hierarchy of needs when it comes to the fundamentals is doing that. It is creating a safe environment. It's having our biological needs met. There are food, shelter, clothing. It's having belongingness through relationships. And it's building our self-esteem, our dignity, our mastery of our own space and time. Opportunity means becoming the master of energy, or matter, energy, space, and time. Also known as MEST. Matter, energy, space, and time. That's what real opportunity is. We start learning how to control our environment. First, we got to find the environment and know that we're safe. And then we start wanting to bring people into our environment, our communities. Human beings are naturally prone to pack, to come together. Then we want to control that environment. In other words, it's okay that we have a little shack. At least we got survival, and if you were homeless, it's a step up. But once you have that little shack and you have some relationships and you feel safe, we want to make that a little bit nicer. This is opportunity. The master of matter, energy, space, and time. Yeah? So this is what we call going pro. This is the first little section. First section you're working on, learning how to become pro. Learning that you're safe. Learning that your survival needs are taken care of. Learning how to take care of your physiological needs, your food, your diet. And then learning how to work. Learning how to become the master of matter, energy, space, and time. Once you become pro, then we can start to move on. And the only reason why we can move on past pro is because these needs are met. Our fundamentals are met. The fundamentals. Then we can start going into our psychological work. Our psychological work, our self-esteem, and our social needs. This is the M and the I. Mental. How to control ourselves mentally, how to learn, how to make plans, how to develop ourselves, how to use strategy and tactics. Mental is about strategy and tactics. How can we learn to use strategy and tactics? And integrity. Probably one of the most important elements of the whole model is integrity. This is part of our self-esteem and social needs. If your integrity is such a place that your word is your law, you say it, someone knows you're going to do it, your integrity is high, you're of high moral character, you're in good standing with the community, and the community could just mean your roommates, or it can mean the overall community. But they know that you are a man of integrity. Your self-esteem really develops and flourishes. Your social needs begin to become better because if they know that they can trust you, they will trust you. And if you're already a pro, you already know. No, my mate just made that up. That you can develop your relationships through the love principle. Listen, understand, validate, and empathize. All of this comes together. You see how it develops into this perfect triangle. Once we have learned how to develop our self-esteem and our social needs through our mental and integrity, we move on to the biggest and most important step. Self-actualization. Enlightenment, in a way. Famous Zen saying goes like this: before enlightenment, do the laundry. There's plenty of laundry to do. You got to get it done. Might as well get it done. After you become enlightened, do the laundry. Still plenty of laundry to do. You need to get it done. After enlightenment, do the laundry. Self-actualization, we work on our spiritual. A spiritual is everything from learning how to meditate to developing our own personal root, taking a deep dive into ourselves spiritually, really developing ourselves as a human being, trying to reach for our true potential, trying to truly, truly lasso Mars. And if all you do is lasso the moon, I figure it's much better than someone who's just trying to lasso their TV set or their video game console. or their cell phone.
So aim high in case you fall short in a sense.
Aim as high as you possibly can, all the way to Mars. And if you happen to lasso the moon, it's better than someone trying to lasso their cell phone. Aim high. Be high. Be a person of high moral character, high standards. Never let your standards slip. Never stretch home plate. Never be a man or a person who their word is questionable. And they're not sure if they're actually going to show up. They may say, oh, well, I'm going to come out with you tonight. I'm going to go out to dinner with you tonight. And then all of a sudden you get a call from that guy. That guy who's like, you know what? Something came up. Can't make it. And that's okay once, but twice, 2, 3, 4 times. Now you start questioning if this person is even, a friend. Because now, of course, the love principle is compromised. And then it starts corrupting everything below. You must keep everything up high in the pyramid or in the triangle pure. The minute it's no longer pure, it seeps down and corrupts the rest of the triangle, and you're back down to the zero base again. So once you're in that self-actualization, you'll start understanding. And then there's the E, the emotional side, knowing how to control our emotions, because we can only control ourselves. We can only control me. Can only control yourself. No one else, and no one can do it for you. So being in total control of your emotions is extremely important. Not allowing your emotions to rule you like a slave master. You don't have to be a slave to your emotions. You can choose. And you should choose. So when you look at this chart, the Higharchey of Needs is kind of a modified version of my own creation here. The promise model that we work on is really ingenious because it fits perfectly in this Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. And if you follow it just as it's prescribed in the manual, then you will meet all of these needs. You will be functioning on a level that's higher than most people. Most people can't even get out of their own way to make it to a job on time. Most people can't get out of their own way to keep their selves healthy. Most people put other things as a higher priority than anything like this. Once they get the fundamentals fairly met, that's where a lot of people stay, right there. They stay right there with the fundamentals met. Oh, I drive a nice car, I have a nice house, I'm safe, I got food, and then that's where they're stuck, right there. They get the basic pro. And sometimes they don't even get the R of the pro. They don't get the relationships, and it's holding them back. Something is corrupt inside here. They don't have it exactly down, but maybe they got the P down. They've got the basic physiological needs met, and they've got themselves a nice little pad, nice house, nice shoes. And that's as far as they get. It's not their fault, really. They don't know how to do it. They've never been taught how to do it. You guys are lucky because you get to get taught how to do it. I had to figure it out on my own, myself. This is self-taught knowledge. I had to figure it out. You guys don't have to have that struggle. So, once you get these needs met, it becomes a breeze. Ooh, just made that up. Once you get the needs, comes a breeze. Factors that influence this. Something that's called the drive. Drives are internal psychological needs. Since there exist psychological states of discomfort, it only makes sense that human beings as a whole are motivated to reduce these psychological states of discomfort. This is what is known as a drive. It's been suggested that psychological needs create an arousal state that drives human beings to reduce that need by engaging in various behaviors. In fact, the greater the psychological need, the greater the physiological drive. Drive. Everybody understand that? What I just read? The greater the need, the greater the physical drive is to have it. The greater the need for water, the greater the physical drive, the arousal, the thirst becomes. The longer you go without water, the thirstier you get. The more you'll do just about anything to get it. Has anybody been that thirsty before? I got my hand up for sure. Been there. Anybody drink out of a mud puddle before? No, I have. Oh yeah, definitely done that. Definitely done that. We used to do that as a kid all the time. That was standard MO. They'd lock us outside and say, "See ya." We go outside, and that's what we were drinking out of the water hose. That was our Maverick trip. Need to go to Maverick and get a drink. Oh, pull up to the hose. Well, let it run for a little bit, let it get cooled off. Oh yeah, we're sitting there. It's the best water on the planet, man. Yep. Incentives. On the other hand, an incentive is an externalized stimulus, object, or an event in the environment that can either help or discourage certain behaviors. An incentive can repel from that initiative. One example could be if a person was hungry and smelled a burger in a restaurant. The stimulus of being hungry would be an incentive to stop and get a burger. Yeah. And then finally, the arousal. Well, not finally. The next is the arousal. Some behaviors are motivated by a desire to achieve stimulus and arousal. For example, a person who is feeling bored may seek stimulation by acting out. I'm bored, so I'm going to act like a big baby. I'm bored. I'm going to throw a fit. I'm sure we all know people who've done that. The next is needs, the most important thing. There's so much more than human experience than instincts, drives, and arousals. At the very base of our human experiences are our needs. Biological and physiological needs, air, food, drink, shelter, warmth, sleep, etc. Safety needs, protection from elements, security, order, law, stability, freedom from fear. My papers are messed up. Love, belongingness, needs, friendship, intimacy, trust, and acceptance. Receiving and giving affection and love. Affiliating, being a part of a group, family, friends, work, roommates, etc. And then there's your esteem needs we talked about, which Maslow classifies into two categories. One, esteem for ourselves, our dignity, achievement, mastery, independence, or what I call masters of matter, energy, space, and time. And then the desire for a reputation or respect from others, our integrity. Our integrity. And then it's our cognitive needs, knowledge and understanding, curiosity, exploration, needs for meaning and predictability. This is our mental needs, isn't it? Aesthetic needs, appreciation and search for beauty, balance, form, and self-actualization. Realizing personal potential, self-fulfillment, seeking personal growth and peak experiences. A desire to become everything one is capable of becoming. Transcending needs. A person is motivated by values that tend beyond personal self, otherwise known as the mystical experiences and certain experiences with nature, aestheticism, services to others, and the pursuit of science, religious faith, etc. All of this is within the promise model. Every single aspect, starting with the pro and moving to the MISE. It's all part of the hierarchy of needs. Isn't that fascinating?
It's cool.
Isn't that phenomenal that you're working on that right now? You're progressively working through a model that runs you through this scientific, psychological, scientific principle.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if you take a look at it and you actually work it, it will work for you because, well, this is not a theory. This is a scientific fact. Yes.
Is it in the binary that we were given, or can I take one home? Or
Yeah, a lot of the pro part is in the binder. Yeah, all of that pro stuff is in the binder. This is part of the M principle that you'll get that soon. Yeah. Okay, other thoughts, questions, comments?
So, is it self-actualization?
Yes.
That's what I was making sure.
What did I say?
No, you said that. I just
pronounced it a
it was
little
just pronounced a little different.
Oh, it's my
That's
southern
why.
accent.
That's all.
I had to check because I never know what's going to come out of this mouth. I
No,
can tell
it
you
was
that.
good. It
For
was
a
pronounced
fact.
differently.
What comes out of this mouth is I cannot guarantee what I'm going to say from one moment to the next.
I liked the Masters of Mess thing. I like that.
Masters of Nest. Not to be confused with Masters of a Mess. That's a totally different thing. Yeah, the Masters of Mess. Matter, energy, space, and time. Matter being the things around you. Your space. Your space around you. Your time. And your energy. Energies you put into things. Masters of Mess. Masters of the Messed universe. Okay. Any other questions?